Good morning. So, who's been to camp before? Yeah? Who's enjoyed camp? All right. Who's been a council at camp? All right, so quite a few of you. Good. Well, today we are going to be talking about camp. One of the ministries that we have here at Barclay is sending out two camp teams to travel for June and July. And so I've asked a few of the students who have gone before if they'll come on up. I'm going to ask them some questions so you can kind of hear what it's like for them to go. And then also we'll hear from a couple students who were actually campers that have also been experienced by some of the Barclay team as well. So what we're going to do is I'll ask a series of questions, and they're going to come up here and kind of share the answer to their questions and kind of give an experience. So what the camp teams, what we do is we'll, June and July, you'll be traveling, and maybe part of August to, we'll have two different teams. One will go to the east side, and the other ones will go to the west side of the states. And so kind of Kansas is the split of the middle. And so you'll be traveling to several different camps in like Idaho, maybe Washington, Kansas, and Colorado. And then also on the east side, you'll go to Iowa, Indiana, and maybe into Ohio. So several different types of camps and experiences, but a ministry filled summer with some fun and meet lots of new people. So I'm going to start off with, when they come up, you guys they'll introduce themselves and what year they went on the camp team. So the first question, why did you apply and decide to join the BC summer camp teams? So, and then just come on up.
Hello, I'm Charity. I went the summer of 2017. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, goodbye.
Well, and then why did you apply and decide?
I decided to go on camp teams. It was after a similar chapel like this where past team came up and spoke about their experience doing camp teams, and it really inspired me to go, the personal growth, but also the impact that they had on students. It just sounded like a lot of fun. Plus, I love camps in general, so it was seemed like a great opportunity.
I'm Tuttle, and I went on summer teams in 2018. The reason I decided to apply and go on camp teams was because I love camp. I've always been a part of camp. I was on summer staff at the camp that I grew up going to since I was 16, and I wanted to experience the counselor side of it, and this was a good opportunity, one, for me to connect with more Quakers around the country and different camps like that and things like that, so yeah.
Hello, I'm Taylor. I went on camp teams the summer of 2019, and I wanted to be part of camp teams because as an elementary education major, I needed more experience working with higher grades. So I was like, middle school, high school, yeah, let's get more experience working with them. So I did that for that reason.
My name is Sarah Easterwood, and I did camp teams this summer 2018 with Tuttle. And I decided to do camp teams because my mom was a camp director, and so I grew up in camp. And so I just wanted the opportunity to counsel kids I didn't grow up with and be able to be a part of their lives. So yeah.
I'm Audra Meeks, and I did camp teens the summer of 2019. And I applied because I love camp. I grew up going to camp. That was my place to like be myself and to be free. So I wanted to experience that all summer long. So that's why I did it.
All right. What was your favorite camp to counsel at and why?
My favorite was the first week of Quaker Hill in Idaho. Several reasons. First, it's in my home state. I love that camp. I went as a camper a few years back. A few years before I would cancel there, and it was a kids camp. And I had 7 girls by myself. It was like herding cats, but I loved the energy. I loved getting to know them. It was just a blast. Also, Roy and Joy Lujan were the directors, and they were just so much fun to work with. They got us coffee every morning. They had an hour-long scheduled break for each counselor. That was fantastic. Definitely napped. It was just a good week, for sure.
My favorite week to counsel at was Wakefield Camp, which was our third week in Wakefield, Virginia. It was just an excellent camp. It was a very small camp. I think between me and Justin, we had like 8 guys, and that was the entire guys of the entire camp. But it was still just a really close-knit like family aspect to that camp, and I loved hanging out with those kids, and I still talk to some of those kids now.
My favorite camp was Quaker Ridge out in Colorado. That camp was the greatest. I have the more that's like the cabin that I had then was the one I have the most contact with now. I chat with them on a regular basis. I had the luxury of seeing them last summer because I helped Chase lead worship over there, so it was great seeing a couple of my girls there. But yeah, Quaker Ridge, great camp.
I don't know if I can really decide which one's my favorite because Virginia was awesome. Like you said, we only had about 7 girls. But I think Ohio was one of my favorite camps. Do you remember what it was called?
Camp Gideon.
Camp Gideon, yes, where Warren is from. But we did a service camp where we got to go into the nearest community, and I think we like redid their park for them. We built like tore tumbleweeds up, and if you know me, I love to serve people, and so that was just my favorite camp. Yeah.
Okay, this was a really hard question because in Arc City, I like had the most different group. I had like country girls from Oklahoma with these thick accents, and I was like, I have no idea, but it was so fun, so fun. And then, but like the doing things and how big it was probably in Indiana where Tuttle and Olivia are from, so that camp, and Sarah Wing, that's probably my favorite camp.
What was one of your favorite camp memories from the summer?
We're gonna go backwards.
I got to shave Rocky's eyebrows off, and let me tell you, that was the coolest thing ever. And he was like, I have no eyebrows, but that was probably, and then like, in Arc City, they do it by like, you get a certain amount of points and then you win. And our group won, and it was like the most like, it was like we were, I don't know, it was like we were in the Olympics. We were like shoving each other, like, yeah, like, yeah. So yeah, that was probably my best memory.
I love the watermelon game. So brief explanation. So it's like you're on a tarp full of water and soap, and there's a watermelon mill, and then the different teams are on the sides, and they call a number, and 1 or 2 members go in, depending on what number they are, and you fight over this watermelon. Ooh, I'm undefeated. Even with junior high, I was just like, some of them deserved it, but I love that game. I just see red, and I win, so that's my favorite memory.
I think my favorite memory would have to be on the road with the team that we were traveling with. Most times whenever we would start traveling, Sarah would always start playing on the road again. And I had to deal with that for a month and a half, 2 months. And then also as soon as we like drove into West Virginia, all of us turned our phones on to play Country Roads Take Me Home. So we just had really fun moments like that on the road that just built our friendships and built connections with each other.
Unfortunately, Chase is not here in this auditorium to hear this, but he knows exactly what story I'm about to tell, and Mikhail does too. So we're on our way to Idaho, to Quaker Hill, and it's a long trek because we drove from Kansas to Quaker Hill, and along the way, we're like close. We have passed Boise at this point, so we're kind of like in between Boise and McCall, and it's like really mountainous, and it's like really green. it had been a while since Chase has been out into the mountains and had really seen trees, and he was the one driving at this point. So we have the windows down, and we're just chilling, we're just talking, and we're talking about being introverted and extroverted and all this kind of stuff. And he was like, actually, I think I'm an introvert. Oh my goodness, the trees are getting bigger. And the trees just kept getting bigger and all this kind of stuff. And he had a freak out whilst driving about these really tall, huge trees for about 10 minutes. And it just kept getting hilarious. It just was best memory ever. It was hilarious. He had to be there.
So my favorite memory, besides annoying the boys with country roads, would definitely have to be when one of my girls decided she wanted to be baptized. And so my whole cabin woke up at 5:30 in the morning to go down to the lake and baptize her. And that was a pretty special moment that I get to be a part of.
Okay. How did you see your campers grow and learn about God while you were with them? And then also, how did you grow and learn about God while you're on your summer camp teams?
For the campers question, I remember I was at the camp I'm from in Indiana, and we were talking about the different perspectives of the different people in the Bible and telling the stories and looking at each perspective of each person in the Bible. And I remember we had a game right afterwards, and Brock, who was in charge, didn't know where me and Justin's cabin was at because we were still having this conversation. And I remember we got back and everyone's like, "Where were you? What was going on?" We're like, "We just wanted to have a deeper conversation about this." So I think out of that one discussion that was supposed to be like 30 minutes, we spent 2 hours on it. And one of those guys in my cabin, his name's Jarrett, he'll text me and have really deep conversations about that entire thing. And it was probably one of the highlights of my summer overall.
One of the things that I got to watch happen in one of my cabins is we were in Indiana, and I had about 4 girls who came to camp every year together. They knew each other, and then I had about 4 girls who didn't know each other and didn't know the other girls. And so it was really interesting dynamic of the group because these 4s wanted to go do everything every day. And then Tuttle was talking about, we had this session that I don't think it was the same one, but we got to build each other up. We got to stand them in the middle, and we got to tell them what we loved about them, what we liked about them, how they are an amazing person. And so it was only supposed to take about 30 to 45 minutes, and then we were supposed to go back together and worship together one more time. But my group spent 3.5 hours just building each other up. Everyone was crying. It was just it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And we spent so much time building each other up that we missed the popcorn session, we missed another worship session, we missed the night game because we just spent that time just building each other up. And that was awesome for me. I learned so much in that 3 hours of together, just watching these girls who didn't know each other very well just build each other up like it was nothing. So that was pretty awesome.
It wasn't really a group of girls in particular. It was one student I had at Quaker Ridge, and she was rather a difficult camper. For one, she was part of a group I had not really been associated with and hadn't really interacted much with. And being a 19-year-old who hasn't really been outside of her comfort zone that much and has only just gone to college for a year, I was honestly rather terrified what to do with this student. She had a lot of anger issues from what she had just hinted at in conversation, and she was just a weird kid. And over the course, and I had relied on the director and other counselors because I had no idea what to do. And over the course of that week, she started to warm up to me and actually became more receptive to what I was trying to reach to her. And I remember at one point there was a game where they dragged all the counselors at one point and basically just drowned us in water buckets. It was great. And it had to do with water and such. But she didn't want to participate because she liked me and she didn't want to get me wet. and I felt very impacted by that moment. That whole summer taught me just to step out of my comfort zone, not only with that camper, but camp in general. That was a new experience. I had never counseled at a camp before. And since then, the Lord has been teaching me to continuously step out of my comfort zone.
I know, I'm a mess. Two things that like really impacted like seeing the campers is I have a passion for bad kids. A lot of people are like, what? I have an attitude, so when other people have an attitude, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great. Like I kind of naturally can go to people that have had a harder life. Like I naturally can, and I have these group of girls that all grew up pastors' kids, and they were really quiet and they loved to read. And I was like, this is gonna be a rough week for me. Like I was like, I don't want to push them, but I don't want to overdo it. And that was an amazing group. They taught me so much, but it was really awesome to hear them talk about struggles that they felt like they couldn't talk about, and they felt like they could talk about it with me because I wasn't from there. And kind of the struggles of them growing up in church and feeling certain ways, and that was just really awesome, and it really made me realize that like just because you grow up in church doesn't mean you have it all together. And it was really awesome. The girls taught me so much, and it was really awesome them being more outgoing, and I still talk to these girls frequently. And then another camper that was impacted a lot was I had a camper who identified as a boy, and at the beginning I was like, oh, this is like, God, I don't know what to do. And this camper grew so much, wouldn't let me pray for them, wouldn't let me do at the end of the week, hugged me and was like, I'm praying more, still texts me and talks about God, and before wouldn't even talk about it. So that is one of my biggest blessings over camp, was experiencing that and just focusing on God and not judging and just being like, God, how do I handle this? So yeah, that was pretty awesome.
There was one particular girl that I counseled, and she had a really rough background. And there was one particular night, it was rough. She had a hard night. She was fighting with one of the girls, and so we had to sit and talk for a little bit. And she opened up to me how she doubted God and how she hated herself. And so that was a rough week in general. That was probably the hardest week during the camp team experience that I had. But actually where I saw the growth was a year later. I saw her as staff member at the camp, and I got to talk to her, and she just told me how God has completely changed her life and how that particular camp changed her. And so I didn't, it's one of those things that I'm like, God, you didn't have to show me the fruit, but he did. And that was a huge blessing where I was like, I'm just listening. I'm not really doing anything. I couldn't really relate to her, but I just listened, and that's what she needed in that moment. And there were other people that were investing in her and just seeing the change. She just had so much light and life in her. So that was the biggest change that I saw.
So why should someone sign up and join the team for this coming summer? What would you give to them?
You should go because YOLO, because you only live once. And I think everybody should go on camp teams. And the people you pair with are not people you normally hang out with. I went with Sierra, Caleb, and Kai and Caleb. They're just very completely different people. And I learned so much from them, and they learned so much from me. And we just so it's really awesome to see your classmates from a different angle without being here and just being together. So I think that's why you should do camp teams, and it's freaking awesome. Traveling together and then doing dumb things together and Not Caleb. Kai used to wear Daisy Dukes in his little cowboy boots and like pose for me. He used to be like, "Good morning, Audra." Like he would do that like once a week. That was just our thing. So I think you should do camp teams because it's just fun. Like, and you will not regret it. You'll have hard days. Don't get me wrong, but like, you will grow. You will see campers grow. It's just like it's just so fun. If I could do it every year, I would. But yeah.
So I think you should do camp because it's just a time to grow with people you don't normally get to see. You get to challenge yourself, and it is a challenge trying to drive with people that you don't spend a lot of time with. Tuttle and I butted heads the entire trip, but it was one of the best memories that I have while Justin slept in the back with his giant headphones on. So it was just a fantastic time. You get to learn so much. You learn along with the campers. I mean, you're probably learning more than they are, but it's an awesome opportunity to go out and be the light to other people.
For me, if anyone could do this, I would tell them to do it. One, to hang out with the people that you don't usually get to hang out with, and also to meet new people. Not just the campers, but some of the staff at these different camps are amazing people, and I am so gracious to be able to know them. I know, for example, I met Matt Close, who is the pastor at Mount Pleasant Friends in Ohio, and he was in Virginia as a speaker. And honestly, there's times that I've been at my lowest, and I've texted him, and he's immediately responded with just encouraging words and just wanting to be there. I have tons of people like that I met on that summer that I traveled. And when you get to travel and you get to see parts of the United States that you wouldn't get to, you get to drive through states that I never would have been able to get to drive through if I wouldn't went on this team. So yeah.
I mean, there's some obvious reasons for one if you're like an elementary education or you're a youth major. Getting more experience working with youth and kids is always a plus. That just is great. However, I just think you should do it. Kind of like what Audra said. You live life once. Camp teams is just fun. You get to meet so many people. You get to have a lot of memories that you get to cherish for the rest of your life. I made a lot of fun memories with my camp team and with a bunch of campers and people from the camps that summer. And you get to personally grow. God always is teaching people at camp. That's one of the many things he uses to teach people. And ministry is just very important, and youth need people who can minister to them. So do it. It'll change your life.
I have a little different perspective. I had a rough time at camp teams. My team had some friction, and so I had to rely on God a lot. And so it's something instead of just saying do it, I would say pray about it. But if God is calling you to do it, absolutely. I knew I was called to it, no matter, with the difficulties. God taught me so much through it. I truly learned what it was like to be resilient and to endure. Even when I didn't want to continue, I had to pray a lot. I knew other people were praying for me as well. And it was actually that week that the girl I just talked about, that was the week I struggled the most, but that was where I saw the most fruit. And that was God teaching me, hey, I don't need much from you. I just need a willing heart. And I've seen miracle after miracle, not just at camp, but in my life in general, of just saying, God, I'm willing. God, your will above my own. Because if it was my will, I probably would have quit in the middle of camp teams. But I didn't. And I got to experience so many good things. I learned so much. I grew as a person. And so if God is calling you to camp teams, do it. Be bold. Be courageous. Even if it freaks you out, do it. That's where you grow, is outside of your comfort zone.
So we also have an opportunity we've had a few people who've been on the camper side with some of our Barclay counselors. So I wanted them to come up and kind of share from the camper side. So I'm going to ask them a few questions, which will be Olivia and Tuttle. So you get to hear him twice. So first question for them, how were you impacted by a Barclay camp team when you were at camp?
All right. I'm actually at Barclay because of the camp teams. My sophomore year of high school, there was a camp team that came to the Indiana camp, and there was a group of five like Barclay students, and one of them was my counselor, and I had like never really had a chance to like connect with my counselors when I was attending camp, and I've gone to camp since I was able to. So yeah, having that counselor was just really impactful for me, and like being able to connect with her and have her like actually listen and want to build a relationship with me was just amazing. And that connection kind of caused me to ponder, like, what would it be like to go to Barclay? And I actually came out and visited the spring semester of my sophomore year of high school. And that's when I knew that, this is where God wanted me to be for college. And this is actually the only college I applied to. So if God didn't want me here, then he would have made it pretty evident if I had gotten accepted or not. So, yeah.
So how I was impacted, I remember, like, the biggest memory I have was Justin and I were in the bathhouse, and he was using the restroom, and I wasn't even a camper. I was on staff. I was cleaning the restroom, and I just remember I asked him, like, what's campus life like? And even though I completely caught him off guard because he was in the middle of using the restroom, he still was he was still like, so he's like, hold on, let me finish. And then he got really excited about just the campus life for the guys, because I had recently talked to the camp team that I think the members I remember were Justin Hall, Victoria Maydew, and Maddie Schneider. And I remember talking to Victoria and Maddie as I saw them kind of sitting out along the lakefront and just reading and sitting there and being with kids. I could walk up and just talk to them, because I was at the age where I was wondering what I was going to do with my life, because I didn't think I was going to be someone that could ever go to college. I didn't think I was smart enough for that. And Justin and all of those teams ensured me it doesn't matter, as long as you have the drive to follow Christ, that you can come here and you can be successful. And that was the biggest thing that inspired me to come here. And just because I knew that no matter, even though I didn't see myself as the smartest, I knew that I would be around people that would love and encourage me to be the smartest that I could be. So that was my reason.
So what were some of the things that you saw as beneficial to you that came from the camp teams?
I think one of the most beneficial things that I gained from learning from the camp teams was that, like, you should never be hesitant when building a relationship with someone. And for me, that's kind of hard because, I didn't really, like, have the best friends, like, all through school. So, like, going out and making new friends is really hard for me. But having those 5 Barclay students invest in me and like want to get to know me just like really encourage me to continue to do that for other people and just be a listening ear, which is kind of why I decided to go into psychology. So yeah.
I think the biggest benefit was I knew that I had friends coming here. If you guys don't know, Indiana's really far away. And yeah, I knew Olivia was coming here that semester, the first semester I was coming, but she also did not want me to come to Barclay. She can explain that later. I just knew that it was going to be a struggle for me to make friends in a new environment, especially 900 miles away. And having 3 people that I knew that already cared about me and were investing in me even when I wasn't even a camper was super excited it made me super excited to come here. So.
What was the last question? What was one of the best memories you have from having involvement with one of the people from camp teams?
The best memory that I have from that summer was, so like our camp has like this long road that kind of like winds like in between the girls and guys side cabins, and then it like goes all the way down to the dining hall. And there was one night that we were like out on the lakefront, and I just sat down with a couple of the Barclay counselors and was just talking with them, and I just started asking them about Barclay and like what they love about Barclay and why they went to Barclay. And we had a game next, so we had to like walk all the way up this road and down another road to go back to like our activity center. And the whole entire time we were walking up there, I just walked with a couple of the Barclay students and was just talking to them about like what has been the most impactful to them being at Barclay, and just hearing how they loved Barclay and how gracious and loving the faculty and staff are, and how encouraging the community is. Like they didn't even have to speak about the student life, like the student body or anything. Like just hearing about the community as a whole was just so impactful for me, and that was something that I desired so much and something that I needed in a college. And as a sophomore, I was just like, how could I know so far in the future already? Like, how can God be directing me in this path already? And I think that experience just, I don't know. College is just so hard sometimes, and it's difficult and it's challenging. But whenever I talk to students about Barclay, whenever I have a chance to like talk to someone about college, I tell them that Barclay is just amazing, because if it hadn't been for the faculty and staff, if it hadn't been for people within the community that love you so much, I wouldn't be here. I don't know why I'm crying, but it's an amazing opportunity to just share with other students about how great of a place you're at. And like, I even tell my fiance that, like, I just tell him I'm so blessed to like have professors that are gracious and so loving and willing to extend grace when you don't feel like you deserve it. So yeah, that has nothing to do with the memory, but you know, yeah, that.
I think my favorite memory was at a popcorn pop, which a popcorn pop at the camp I came from is they make popcorn over a fire in a giant kettle. And sing camp songs. It's a lot of fun. And I just remember they'd handed out like the Barclay t-shirts like at chapel before, and I didn't get one, and I was like really mad. And then I talked to Victoria and Maddie, and they made sure they went and grabbed an extra one that they weren't supposed to give out to me. So I got the shirt, and I remember I think I still have it on my Facebook, but there's just a picture of us. It's a really bad picture because it's just dark, but we were all just kind of sitting on a log, and Just I remember like I can look back at that picture and see the smile, and I could just see pure excitement for what was coming next, and that would probably be my favorite memory.
All right, thank you for sharing, guys. So as you're thinking about what to do this summer, if summer camps is something that is an interest, yes, I'd like for you to pray about it, consider it something that God's leading you to do, but encourage you if you feel led, if you want to jump out of your comfort zone, if you want to have fun, impact, travel, consider summer camp teams. We'd love to have you join us. I will have some applications at the table today at the cafeteria. If you have other questions, please find me and ask me, and be glad to share. I'm sure these students will be glad to share with you as well. But anyway, thank you for listening to the camp, and I hope that I'll see some of you guys join the team. Thank you. You're dismissed.